Welcome to my channel Grow Joyfully. In this three-part series, I share how I make use of the Mother Nature's gift, free gift, the dry fallen leaves in composting and in gardening. This is a third video in which I explain how I make leaf mold and make use of the same. Leaf mold is the product we get when the dry leaves decompose over time. The end product is more like humus. It's dark brown to black in color with a very pleasant earthy aroma and a crumbly texture. The decomposition of the fallen leaves is done primarily by fungi. We cannot equate leaf mold to fertilizer. It doesn't have much in terms of nutrition. However, it has a lot of benefits. Leaf mold serves essentially as a soil conditioner. It primarily alters the structure of the soil or the potting mix. And that's the action because of the fungi that is present. All the little hairs of the fungi grab onto the soil particles and they help to bind the loose soil. So the soil becomes compact. At the same time, the long filamentous branches of the fungi, called as the hyphae, they help to break up compact soil. So if your potting mix is compact or clayey, then it becomes loose. Leaf mold enhances aeration in the soil. It also increases the water retention capacity in the soil or the potting mix. It retains soil moisture and slows down water evaporation. This organic amendment physically alters the soil so that it becomes spongier, holding moisture as well as hair. And that's a heavenly environment for the plant roots. Leaf mold also provides a fantastic habitat for soil life, including earthworms, and the beneficial micro and macroorganisms. Sometimes we may confuse leaf composting or leaf mold making with aerobic composting. Let me explain the differences. In aerobic composting, we make use of greens and browns. Greens come from the kitchen waste, and for browns we use cardboard shreddings, dry leaves, cocoa peat, sawdust, etc. We use a container with holes in which we place the organic matter, and the decomposition is done by aerobic bacteria, and heat is generated in this process. We need to turn the mix regularly in order to prevent matting of organic matter and also to ensure adequate air circulation. And the final product is the aerobic compost, which has a lot of nutritive value. Let us contrast this process with leaf mold making. In leaf mold, the only raw material that is required is dried leaves. The process is fungi driven because dry leaves contain mostly browns. And it's essentially a very cool process, no heat is generated. And there's no need to turn the mix at all. While leaf mold does not have nutrition value, it enhances water retention, enhances ventilation, and provides a very good habitat for microorganisms in your soil or potting mix. The process of leaf mold making is very, very simple in the urban context. We moisten the dry leaves. We may use water. We may use accelerators optionally. And we can use two techniques, bag it or cage it, in order to store the moistened dry leaves. And throughout the period of decomposition, we have to ensure that this mix remains moist. My experience is in the cage it technique, it takes about 2 to 2.5 months, and in the bag it technique, it takes about 3 to 3.5 months to harvest the leaf mold, which I consider as very precious. Usage of accelerator is completely optional. You may simply use water to moisten the leaves. Accelerator, as the name indicates, simply accelerates the fungal decomposition. You may use the accelerator in the first step, that is while moistening the dry leaves, and also while moistening the mix regularly. Depending on what is available at your end, you may consider using any of the following. If you have access to fresh cow dung, you can make cow dung slurry and soak the leaves in the slurry. You may use Jivamrita or Panchakavya. You may use diluted waste decomposer, which is available in India. At home, if you have diluted sour buttermilk, that would also do. My practice is this. For initial moistening of dried leaves, I use cow dung slurry or waste decomposer. Both work very well for me. To keep the mix moist, I simply spray or sprinkle plain water. Occasionally, that is, whenever I use Jivamrita or Panchakavya or sour buttermilk for my plants, I ensure that I sprinkle the same on the leaves mix also. Natural zero cost accelerator is human urine. Fresh urine is sterile, safe, and it's supposed to work wonders. It may be applied directly or more discreetly. You may collect them indoors before you pour it over the leaf pile. Since I have access to other accelerators, I have never tried using urine at all. Do you have access to different kinds of leaves? If yes, you may use those leaves which are slow to disintegrate, which have more cellulose for mulching. Leaves which decompose fast, like Pogamia or Ashoka leaves, are more appropriate for composting. For leaf mold, I normally use a mix of all kinds of leaves. Here I am using Ashoka leaves and mango leaves. Crushing the leaves is optional. If you crush them, they decompose faster. I hardly ever crush the leaves, I use them as such. Here I am using fresh cow dung as accelerator. I take around 1 kg of the dung and place it in a 40-liter drum. Fill it with 75% water. This will form the cow dung slurry. If you are using Panchakavya, Jivamrita or sour buttermilk, you may use the same ratio of dilution as you use for plants. If I use waste decomposer, I usually add 4 liters of waste decomposer to around 30 to 35 liters of water. I soak the leaves for 2 to 3 minutes, then get the excess water drained using a very coarse sieve. Now the moistened dry leaves are ready for bagging or caging. As the name indicates, we simply place the moistened leaves in a bag. You may use gunny bags, rice bags, cement bags, bags which are got in grocery shops, etc. The size will depend upon the amount of leaves that you have. This is a near zero cost solution. I am showing bags which were discarded in my neighbor's construction site. Some have holes. If they don't have holes, we simply poke and we make a few holes all around the bag just to facilitate aeration. You may even place cardboards at the bottom of the bag to absorb excess water. Next, we simply start placing the moistened leaves inside the bag. You need to pack them well regularly as you add the leaves. These bags can really hold a large volume of leaves. Once you have packed densely, tie them with a rope. You may place these bags in shade or partial shade preferably, but if you don't have a choice, you may place them under direct sunlight as well. Here I have shown the bags that we have packed today. You may even stack them vertically in order to conserve space. Caging refers to placing the leaves in an enclosure like a wire or a metal cage. Such a cage helps to contain your leaves while also allowing plenty of air to reach them. You may buy chicken or mesh wire from a hardware shop. Simply staple the ends to make a circular mesh open at both ends. You can also make a square cage with chicken wire stapled to small wooden stakes at each corner. This makes it simple, lightweight and sturdy. It's also easy to move if required. You may keep some cardboards at the bottom and sides to prevent leakage or evaporation of water. This setup is appropriate for one-time harvest, say after 8 months. Let me show you how my metal cage looks like. I was looking for a permanent, sturdy, and non mobile kind of a cage around 7 years back. So I got a metal mesh custom fabricated to suit my specific requirements. This is more costly to make as compared to an economical, simple mesh cage. So I would suggest this only if you have space and if you have access to large quantity of leaves regularly and you really wish to use the leaf mold as a substitute for coco peat on a large scale. This setup has legs so that cleaning the floor is easy. The top is open. It has a bottom chamber to collect the leaf compost. There is a door to this chamber. I realized that such a door is required in order to harvest the leaf mold, say once in 2 or 3 months. But then when I started using it, not much of the leaf compost was falling down on its own because the mold was a little sticky. So we redesigned and got another door just above the chamber so that we can remove the leaves at the edges and harvest the leaf mold that gets formed in the central portion. This setup works out very well for me. I am able to harvest once in 2.5 months, provided I get access to large quantity of leaves. I add dry moistened leaves regularly into my cage bin. When I collect leaves, after a harvest, or when the volume goes down. Compacting or packing the mix really helps. You may do it with a stick or you may use your feet. As you can see, I am getting support for this. The third step in the process, keeping the leaves moist, is very, very crucial. This is not a fill it, forget it scenario. If we don't keep them moist or we do the moistening erratically, either decomposition will not happen or it will be a very, very slow process. In summer, I ensure I sprinkle water on the bags once a day. And for my cage, I use a hose pipe, and as I water my plants, I spray on the top and along the sides of the cage composter once or even twice a day. The frequency depends upon the humidity and weather conditions. If you use bags or cages which are open at both sides, you may do a one-time harvest, say after 6 to 8 months. Just toss the entire contents on a plastic sheet and do a coarse sieving. In my cage composter, I harvest once in 2.5 to 3 months. We take out the compost that gets formed inside. The edges contain leaves, so we use a coarse sieve in order to extract the leaf mold. And we put back the leaves or semi-compost leaves and twigs back into the bin. This is how the end product, the leaf mold, looks like. Powdery, black in color, with a very fine texture and pleasant earthy aroma. I've been using this as an effective substitute for coco peat since 5 to 6 years. I use leaf mold as a key ingredient in my potting mix. I also use it for seed starting. To summarize, in this 3-part series, I've shared how I collect, store and make use of the dry fallen leaves, a free gift from Mother Nature. I do hope that you found this series useful. Thank you for watching my videos. Have a great day.